So Zelensky says that Russians are scared. They have drones and missiles, but we are winning the war because we are united. Recall that Zelensky signed off on a new law banning any journalism that might state otherwise. It's cold, dark, they're running out of weapons, and every city is being bombarded by missiles and drones, but somehow victory is assured. We are hearing Ukraine had a significant drone operation. Well, apparently Russia caught wind of this, and it's been reported that Russia destroyed their factories producing the drones. Then they proceeded to attack the bases that Ukraine had amassed significant drone stockpiles. The city of Kiev has been one of the main recipients of the mass Russian missile attacks. It sounds like the mayor wanted to get out in front of things this time and take the opportunity to slam the Ukrainian government. If you recall, a few months back, Zelensky blamed the mayor of Kiev for the disastrous situation that had resulted out of a previous attack on the city. Because we have confirmation from the Russian side, we can say that Ukraine has achieved some sizable success with this Donetsk HIMARS missiles strike. It sounds like they have at least killed 63 newly deployed soldiers and took out a weapons depot. Apparently this was a careless error on the Russian side to have all this concentration in one area. It looks like they have foiled the Russians' plan to launch an offensive on the Donetsk front, especially if there are even more losses as claimed by the Ukrainians. They're claiming something like 400 to 600 soldiers were killed. According to the Russians, these were high explosive warheads used in the attack. We reported a while back that the Pentagon had indicated that they were going to send high explosive types of HIMARS. It seems that the Zelensky regime is starting to really put it out there that they have these deep ties and a bond with Poland. There's a suggestion that the two will be the future powerhouses of Europe. This further confirms that the plan is to have Poland join in at some point. Meanwhile, we have the NATO chief Stoltenberg out there cracking the whip again today on NATO countries to pick up their production. So now let's get to Russia. We're going to start off by restoring Russia to the number 2 position on our world power rankings. We had made a change early on that had China edging them out, but so much has shifted recently that we will blast them up the chart back to number 2 to bring in the new year. Putin's word, action, and results tell us that he's been able to cut the cords on the West and break free of the fake matrix. He's deepened and strengthened his ties and alliances to number 3 China, number 4 India, number 13 Turkey, and number 14 Iran. As the war progresses, Russia is also picking up allies in the big shift towards a new multipolar order. The OPEC Plus nations and the global South are backing Russia as well. He's proven that Russia's military-industrial complex is a world powerhouse. Sounds like we are really going to see delivery expanding at an exponential rate. Putin delivers his New Year's speech that Russia will no longer be held down by a crooked Western system. Sounds like they're going to start even producing their own cars. So we are hearing more evidence that Russia is going to push to Zaporozhye. Perhaps they will finally be able to put an end to the shelling of the nuclear power plant. I'm guessing that they were able to overcome this latest incident we reported on a previous episode, since we haven't heard anything else on that subject. So last night, Russia accomplished successful airstrikes to take out 2 weapon depots and a fuel depot in 2 towns nearest the front lines. They also destroyed a depot further up near Dniprovsk. There has been convoys of armored vehicles spotting from Kherson on their way to the Zaporozhye front. So it looks like we could see a major offensive from Russia at any moment, as it looks like they'll want to take advantage of this successful strike near the front lines. Unless perhaps they will first need to carry out another round of airstrikes. We mentioned last episode that Zaporozhye itself has been hammered by airstrikes over the past month. So last night, the Russian aerospace forces attacked the bases of the Foreign Legion in DPR as well as Kharkiv. This resulted in the elimination of over 70 foreign mercenaries, and more than 100 of them have been wounded. The Sumy and Kharkiv region have been under mass missile attack for quite some time. It appears to me that last night was the heaviest attacks launched from the north that we've seen since the beginning of the war. Seems like this combo of extreme shelling and bombarding of Kiev could indicate that the Russians are getting ready to move in from the north at any moment. We hear that Ukraine has transferred up to 3,000 troops to the northern front. Perhaps they will push hard from both the north and the south. This whole scenario seems like a disaster waiting to happen from the Ukrainian point of view. I'm thinking this is why Kissinger has had a change of heart. Now let's talk about this Kissinger plan to end the war. This is quite a bit of a different plan than he had just put out recently. The previous plan sounded like one of those Zelensky ridiculous ones. Now that things have become much clearer for many, it sounds like Henry has come to his senses and agrees that Ukraine should give up the Donbass and Crimea. Kissinger says that Ukraine would get to join NATO as part of the deal. This is certainly a flashback to the good old days when deals involved compromises by both sides to reach an agreement that makes some sense. Note that Elon Musk gave this deal a like on Twitter. Recall that he had put a similar proposal out there earlier, minus letting Ukraine join NATO. Zelensky and his henchmen attacked Musk and even put him on their little death list. So we are seeing that Pakistan continues its descent into total chaos. First we had this flood in September that plunged a third of the country underwater. That resulted in over 1,700 deaths and $15 billion of damage, plus another $15 billion of economic losses. I won't even mention the coup because that's just part of their normal process there. Now things are really accelerating with this Afghan Taliban and an internal Taliban associated group. Terror attacks in Pakistan are up 50% since the Taliban took over. Pakistan's leader denounced the uptick in TTP attacks and does not rule out launching cross-border offensives. Afghan says it won't tolerate any attacks on its own territory. It sounds like this TTP group also operates inside of Pakistan and has announced the forming of its own government. So it seems like a disaster having a nuclear armed country that had a world power ranking of 9 finding itself in this kind of chaos with absolutely no help in sight. China and Saudi Arabia have tried to help out in Pakistan, but it seems like perhaps they have given up hope. We'll have to follow this situation closely as this could really erupt into something huge. Thanks again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and pound that like button. There's going to be a lot more coming. We're just getting started.